Once you have been placed at a client, you must complete any and all required site-specific training before you begin your assignment. If you haven't been trained or are unsure about the job, say something to your on-site or client supervisor. Site-specific safety policies may differ from one assignment to another or even one department to another, so be sure to review and understand the necessary safety information at the start of each job assignment. Do not perform any task you haven't been trained and authorized to do so. Our company and the client can provide you with the training and equipment necessary to perform your job safely, but safety on the job is a choice. You can choose to follow safety rules, or you can choose to take shortcuts and risks. But know this, not following established safety policies and procedures will result in a disciplinary action up to and including termination. So, if you are unsure of something, if you are performing a new task, or if you see something that does not seem safe, stop what you are doing and talk with the supervisor. If the supervisor does not resolve the problem, you should not perform a job that may cause an accident. Contact your on-site manager or branch representative for assistance. Report to work rested, alert, and focused on your job. Never come to work under the influence of alcohol, street drugs, or medication that makes you drowsy, as many clients require drug and/or alcohol testing after any accident. If you are under a doctor's care and must take a prescription medication that makes you drowsy, notify your branch representative immediately. There are warning signs and stickers posted throughout the facility or on equipment and warn you of situations you need to know to be safe. Do what they say. At times, you may be asked to do work that you, as an associate, are not allowed to do. If this occurs, be polite, but inform your supervisor that you are not allowed to do the following tasks. Perform any type of maintenance, electrical, or related work that requires specific knowledge and training. Work involving blood or infectious materials. Operating machinery or equipment outside the scope of the job you were hired for. Every client has different policies that govern the type of clothing that is appropriate to wear at work. Before the first day of your assignment, be sure to ask your branch representative what type of clothing you are expected to wear and if there are any dress code restrictions that apply at your location. Wearing inappropriate clothing can cause you to be sent home and in some cases dismissed from your assignment. If you have long hair and you will be working in a machine shop or any other environment where it could be caught in moving or rotating parts, be sure to pull your hair back and secure it so that it cannot come in contact with any moving components. In addition, it is recommended that you not wear any jewelry that could become snagged on moving equipment or machines. Personal protective equipment, also known as PPE, is the workplace safety gear that shields our bodies from potential harm. When used correctly, PPE can prevent serious injury and even death. Always correctly use any and all forms of required safety equipment such as gloves, safety glasses, fall or hearing protection, work boots, vest, or any other PPE as instructed. If you are unsure as to what PPE is required for your assignment, ask your supervisor or our company representative. Every work site is required by OSHA, the Federal Occupational Safety and Health Administration, to have an emergency action plan. These plans cover such items as to what to do in the event of a fire, weather, or other location-specific emergency. Be sure to familiarize yourself with the emergency action plan at each and every client where you are assigned. Fires, injuries, and other urgent situations can occur at any time, so it is essential that you know about the plan on your first day. Take time to review emergency exit maps and ask questions as to what your role is during an emergency situation. Unless trained to do otherwise by your site supervisor, the client will call 911 in the event of an emergency if necessary. If you hear a fire or other evacuation alarms, you have doubts about your safety, leave the building immediately and report to your assigned assembly area, which could be an interior safety room. Access to fire extinguishers, exit doors, and electrical panels must always be unobstructed and free of obstacles. Never store anything within 36 inches in front of, to the sides of, or above any electrical panel or any other electrical equipment. Before you begin your work assignment each day, review your work environment for potentially hazardous conditions. Report any concerns you identify to your supervisor or our company and work with that supervisor to correct any observed issues that could be hazardous to you or your coworkers. If your safety is in jeopardy, do not begin your work assignment until the problem has been corrected. If your supervisor does not make the necessary corrections, be polite, but call your branch representative or on-site manager to report the problem. Most facilities have equipment with moving parts. No matter what environment, you are protected from these moving parts by machine guarding. It is important to always use the correct machine guards. If you are an equipment operator, it is your responsibility to ensure that all guards are in place and properly functioning before you begin to operate the machine. Never, under any circumstances, should you operate unguarded machinery or remove any guards. Finally, never leave any machine running while unattended, and be mindful not to place your hands or any other body part into operating equipment for any reason. If you are an equipment operator, be sure you know the location of all emergency stop buttons or emergency stop pull cords. If you are asked to work on equipment that is unguarded or otherwise unsafe, tell your supervisor and your branch representative or on-site manager. If you are an equipment operator, always remember to check the equipment as well as the surrounding area to make certain that it is clear and in good operating condition before you turn on the machine. When a machine is being serviced or repaired, it should be locked out and tagged. Never attempt to start a machine that has been locked out, and never remove someone else's lock or tag for any reason. Do not service, repair, or clean out a jam machine if your hand or other body part could be exposed to running mechanical, electrical, or other hazards until the equipment is stopped, de-energized, all stored energy is released, and the lockout-tagout process has been completed. Slips, trips, and falls are a leading cause of workplace injury. There are a number of causes, but clutter, spilled liquids, tools, pallets, trash left on the floor, hoses, and cords are major contributors. Your responsibility is to keep your area clean and orderly, and do not store items in places where other employees walk. Whenever you have downtime, take the initiative to clean up your work area. Watch where you walk at all times, and keep an eye on the path ahead of you. Don't carry a load that obstructs your vision. If you see a potential trip hazard, correct it right away. When using the stairs, be sure to hold on to the handrail. If you trip, you will be able to catch yourself before you fall. Never cross the conveyor system except at designated areas, and never run at work. Identify blind corners or locations in the work environment to safely move through the area. You need to always give forklifts the right of way. Use dome mirrors if provided, or always listen for equipment in the area. Aisles should always be kept clear, and there should be at least 44 inches of unobstructed space in the aisleway. For some assignments, you may be performing duties that require you to work from a stepladder, scaffold, or motorized man lift. You should never be working from an unsecured ladder, as this type of work is restricted within our company. For a traditional rolling ladder that has handrails and is gravity-fed to stay in place, allowing you to control your work assignment. In most work assignment, the only ladders you should encounter are the rolling ladders. And if using a man lift, do not work at heights above 20 feet. If you are asked to perform work at heights above these limits, please notify your branch representative or on-site manager as soon as possible to ensure the situation can be evaluated. Never climb on a rack, material, etc. that could cause you to fall. Only approved rolling ladders can be used to pick product at elevated heights. Fall protection may be required if you operate a stand-up or similar type of forklift. This PPE needs to be inspected prior to each use and worn accordingly to the training you have received. At no time is it allowed to disregard the use of fall protection based on the job and risk identified for the job being performed. Visually inspect every ladder before use. Issues such as broken steps, missing cleats, and bent or missing spreader bars should be reported to your supervisor or the host employer immediately. Never use a broken or defective ladder that doesn't provide the stability and safety to perform your job task. Also, be sure that the ladder that you are using is properly sized for the task. Never extend yourself outside the confines of a rolling ladder or man lift. This will shift your center of gravity and can make the ladder unsteady or cause you to lose your balance. Always be certain that the ladder you are using is properly rated for your work. When considering the weight rating of a ladder, be sure to include your weight, the weight of any items you may be carrying, and the weight of your clothing, product, and PPE. When climbing or descending a ladder, always use 3 points of contact. This means 2 hands and 1 foot, or 1 hand and 2 feet in contact with the ladder at all times. The most important thing to remember with hand tools is to use the correct tool for the job. For example, do not use a screwdriver for chiseling work. Most accidents occur when tools are used carelessly or inappropriately. Visually inspect all tools before you begin working with them. If you notice that a tool, cord, or hose is damaged, malfunctioning, has been modified, or is in otherwise unsafe condition, stop using it immediately and report the issue to your supervisor or the host employer. Keep your hands and fingers away from the moving part of any hand or fixed power equipment, such as drills, sanders, or cutting devices. Do not use equipment of this nature until you have first received training by the host employer and understand the safety features. Do not allow power cords to dip into puddles of water or liquid, even if you believe the line is protected by a ground fault circuit interrupter. If the GFCI equipment were to fail, there would be no protection for you. Most electrical equipment is grounded with either a 3-prong plug or 2-prong plug and insulation. If the 3rd prong of an electrical or extension cord is missing, stop. Do not use the equipment as this is a grounding device and protects you from electrical shock in the event of a short or malfunction. For the same reason, do not use an adapter to plug a 3-prong cord into a 2-prong receptacle. If you use box cutters, do so carefully. Never place your hand or arm in the cutting path. Position the box cutter so you are cutting away from your arm, hand, or finger so, if the cutter slips, you won't cut yourself. The blade must be retracted when not in use to prevent accidental contact with the blade. If at any time your box cutter becomes damaged, doesn't close properly, or is dull, request a new one from the supervisor. By federal law, you have the right to know about hazards associated with the use and handling of hazardous chemicals in your workplace. Additional site-specific training may be required and completed at the client location depending upon your assignment. Every client that uses hazardous chemicals has and will provide access to a written program including a list of on-site chemicals and safety data sheets, or SDSs, for each chemical in their inventory. The only exception to this requirement is consumer products that are labeled as such. While some of the information on the safety data sheet is technical in nature, sections on recommended PPE and what to do in case of an exposure or spill appear in clear, easy to understand terms. The best time to learn about the hazards of a chemical is before you use it. So be sure to read the SDS for any chemicals you are